So I want to welcome everybody tonight. My name is Patty Schramm. I'm the Parent Resource Coordinator and Trainer for the SALT talks that we're holding virtually currently. We've started a new series. We just finished up independent living. Now we're looking at this month, we're going to look at services. So many times over the years, I have found parents weren't aware of the services offered. You know, maybe they connected with a county board of developmental disabilities, but they didn't realize, you know, all the services that are within that county board. But there's so many that to touch on, but we're trying to focus on transition related services. You know, what will you need to get through transition? But no matter what the service is, I always encourage parents to ask questions. And sometimes I hear, I don't know what questions to ask, and that's fine because I was there too. But like if you have something going on with your child, maybe there's an episode or something that's going on. Maybe they get upset easy at school, or maybe they're doing a lot of tripping when they're going up or down steps. Anything that's going on, you don't know exactly what to ask. Just let your county board, your transition coordinator know maybe a situation's going on, and they can get you directed into the services that are available, or maybe some help in those areas. I mean, even as simple as communications possibly, or maybe your difficulties. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. We have 3 county boards here tonight. We have Greene County, we have Montgomery County, and we have Warren County. And we have transition coordinators from every county. They'll introduce, each presenter will introduce themselves. If you're not from any of those counties, that is fine. What I try to tell parents is you get the basis or the understanding of what the county board does, the basics of the presentation, gives you the basics of services. And then if you're in a totally different county, you can take that information back to your coordinator, to your county board, and say, this is what I learned. Does this apply to me, or how can we work with this? So I think all the presenters are aware that there might be some other county parents from other counties on this call as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, we're going to let Greene County go first, and I'm going to turn it over to Kleiser and JWelhener and let them take it from here.
Okay. Hello, good evening, everybody. Josh, are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted.
Okay. I'm Kleiser and JWelhener. We're both transition coordinators with the Greene County Board. The approach we're taking tonight, we will be brief, but we decided to make our presentation geared toward what we do as a transition team. Just a moment. Sorry. What we do with the county board as far as transition services are concerned. I think by doing it this way, then when other counties are talking, I'm guessing they'll cover some other things, but there's basics with all of us. And so we'll get started. Sorry. Okay, so we have a transition services in Greene County with a manager, Carmen Royer. Josh and I are the coordinators, and we have 2 transition coaches, Brenda Mueller and Cindy Shivadecker. Brenda Mueller spends most of 9 months of the year working with the Project Life program with the Greene County ESC. And that's one of our transition programs that's offered in the Greene County area. And then Cindy spends her time with Josh and I. And also then we all come together during the summer when we do some summer programming. So this is one of Josh's favorite slides. Josh.
I think one of the things I've learned throughout the transition process is that there's so many things that can go right and make a really great future for students with developmental disabilities. but there's also so many small breaks in the process that can happen that can interfere and actually like greatly impact the outcomes and not necessarily for the good. So that's why we're so intentional about what we do in Greene County with trying to get folks connected with services and start thinking about the future. Because, you know, when we start with kids at 14, that's like 8 years potentially we could be working with them. And that seems like a lot of time, but it goes really fast. I'm amazed with some of the kids that we started working with that are adults now. And so it's kind of like a really precious time that's got to be used, you know, judiciously to make sure we really get as much done as we can during this time. So we like this graphic because it is your future, but it's really about preparing for that future. It's not just going to happen accidentally. So
going through, we have our transition philosophy. It's a typo, sorry. But transition is something that all of students experience. And it doesn't matter whether they have a disability or not. We all know that all of our children, everybody goes through transition, period. It is not employment specific. And everyone is transitioning from high school into a new post-secondary situation. And transition is best approached holistically. So we look at the whole person and we move forward with there. Josh, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that's good.
So we have 3 main program objectives in our transition services program, or with our transition services that we provide in Greene County. Our number 1 is connecting with the schools and identifying students that qualify for our services or need to go through redetermination. That when we first started the transition services in Greene County, we started it because we were very disconnected with who were the ages from 14 to 22 that were in our system, and were we actually identifying where they needed to go? Were there students that maybe were in early intervention and then never went through eligibility? So that's been our driving force. We've really come a long way in identifying the individuals in our system, and we're still finding people that have not gone through our system, and they may not be ready, and we kind of bring that up. And our next one is attending IEP meetings, and that's how we get to meet parents. Where our schools that we work in within Greene County, we're in all of the Greene County schools, and those IEP meetings are a very important part of that. So it's the IEP meetings to help them link and refer students, and also to connect them with other partnering agencies. And then the third objective that we have is to support the development of our employability and self-determination skills. And we do that by going into the schools and working with the teachers and the students together. So the teachers are there, and we work together in developing those skills. So number 1, connecting schools with schools, connecting with schools and identifying students that qualify or need to go through redetermination. I'm not going to go through the whole eligibility process because I know that there are going to be multiple counties here. They're all slightly different, but I do have a short video that goes with all of us, and I think it explains, it's a good explanation.
Small business insurance wasn't just another way for the man to steal your last buck. Yeah.
So, you have some questions about developmental disability services in Ohio? You've come to the right place. We'll cover the basics and tell you where you can find even more information. The Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities oversees a statewide system of supports and services for more than 95,000 Ohioans with developmental disabilities and their families. Anyone with a developmental disability that is a severe chronic disability caused by a mental or physical impairment that is present before age 22, likely to continue indefinitely, and cause someone to need special care, treatment, or services can be eligible. The support that each person receives is based on their needs. Support can be things like help with daily living needs and personal care, support and training to explore different jobs, help getting to work or getting out into the community. Your local county board of developmental disabilities is the best place to start. They can guide you through eligibility requirements and let you know which services or what local resources are available to you. Then you decide what services fit you best. Your county board can also help you find service providers, the people who provide the services outlined in your plan. These may be people who work for other community services, volunteers, or people who are licensed or certified by DODD. Your county board can also help you find local services and supports. Most services are available at home, whether you are living on your own, living with family, with a roommate, or with somebody paid to provide full-time care. For some people, services can also be provided in a facility, like an intermediate care facility or a developmental center focused on providing a bundle of services in one place with 24/7 access to emergency care. Your county board can let you know what options are available for accessing support. Then you can make the choices that fit you best.
That's just a short video. Bring this. Is the PowerPoint showing again?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's just a short video, just giving a basic idea of the county boards. With the Greene County, we have two eligibility coordinators. Carrie Keller is our transition school age 16 to 22, and she does those students that are needing redetermination. And that is when students have already been determined eligible at age 6 to 13, they go through, through 15, they go through redetermination at 16. So Carrie Keller is the person in our county that takes care of that age group. And then Vanessa Eminoff does the 6 to 15 and adults that are 23 and above. Now, Patty will have all of this information on this PowerPoint, so that if you need to get a hold of them, you may, and then you also can contact either of us. What we do in IEP meetings is, I talk to parents who've never even heard about the Greene County Board of DD. And, I tell them, in my opinion, if you have if your son or daughter has a developmental disability, then I always say I would go for seeing if they're eligible, because it's better to go through the eligibility before you absolutely are in a situation where you need that help. And if an individual is eligible for us, we go all the way from the time they're eligible, and redetermination is till the end. So it may be just helping with support in a job at the beginning, but later down the line, there may be more that you are going to need. And so in my opinion, I tell parents, it's better to go through that door and go through eligibility. And I know that with Carrie and Vanessa, they will help you through that process and tell you exactly what you need to do. I tell you that what we do in Greene County, they will ask you for documentation of your disability, where that information is, but you don't have to go and look all that information up. You just tell them who their doctors are, their therapists, the school, you sign the releases, they find all the information, and then they will contact you after that, after they've reviewed that information. So you have anything else you want to add to that, Josh?
No, but I agree with Kathy. I do think it's important to go through this. If you even suspect you're going to need the support of agencies, I think it's really important. Like I can think of a couple of families we're working with right now that are getting very close to separating from school and have not gone through the process. And we're kind of worried about what it's going to look like, what's going to happen when the student leaves school, how are they going to what's their day going to look like when school's gone. And for some of those families, they might have, I don't want it to be a negative experience for them, but it'd be better to leave prepared than to have to hurry up and scramble later. So we'd always rather people do it, proactively and early than at the last minute, I think.
So as we move on, to go over briefly some of the other things we do as transition services, we attend the IEP meetings and discuss transition planning. And actually, we have gotten to the point now where in most IEP meetings, and we go to the Career Center and all the schools within Greene County. And when it comes to the transition piece, usually they now look at me and say, okay, Kathy, do you want to go ahead and explain everything that's that we need to be thinking about with transition? We've developed that relationship. And because Josh and I are in the classroom, working with the teachers and the students, we also know kind of to help them where their direction is taking them and what they're hoping to do. And so in those meetings, we discuss the programming options, and that could be from if somebody wants to go to college, well, what are you doing to prepare for that? And also the other options that are out there in our community, if that's where you want to go. And we have a very close relationship with Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. All the schools have counselors attached to them. And so we do a lot of referring to OOD. And then when we're talking about doing work, we do a summer camp, work camp. And of course, OOD does as well. A lot of times we get together and talk about, well, are you going to be able to get them into your camp? If not, we have room here. And sometimes we've actually braided some things where they've helped with transportation and things like that. So we have a very close relationship with OOD, but we help refer students there. And then we answer questions what parents have about support after high school and day programming. What are the options? We set up tours if we need to, so that they can go and look at things. We actually have our teachers now going to tour a lot of the day programs, because when it comes down to it, the teachers know those students very well. So looking at the different options, if that is going to be an option, the teachers can really help the parents understand more what they've seen as well. So the teachers themselves are becoming educated about that information there. So that is a very strong part of what we do with the transition planning. Josh, do you want to add anything there?
Nope, that sounds good.
So, and then the third thing we do, and I feel this is what really gives us the information we need to help with when we're referring students for other referring and linking them out in the community, is our employability classes. And we work with various levels of students, and we work on career exploration along with the teachers. And we talk about soft skills. We help them develop transition portfolios, and then the teachers build on that in hopes that they will use them in meetings later down the road. But I think one of the big things that we're really trying to push now, and then I'm going to let Josh get on that last point, is we also talk about increasing those self-determination skills. Because when we're doing the transition portfolios and all of that information, and whether they're part of our system and they end up having what we call their ISP meetings, because they'll do a yearly plan just like the schools do when they have a service and support administrator. They need to be able to speak up with what they want. And even with students that have more significant needs, you can still work on those self-determination skills. And if you wouldn't mind bearing with me, I have a video here that talks a little bit about that, just because we're pretty passionate about the importance of self-determination. That's going to be very important in driving these students when they're working with any agency, whether it be our agency, and as adults, the importance. Sorry about
This
that.
video series is for youth with disabilities and their families who are planning for life after leaving high school. In this section, we will talk about what is transition and how youth can start planning for the future and making their own decisions.
Transition means after if you finish high school, you go to work or you go to college. The reason why it's important is because people don't want to stay home, and staying home, I don't think it's good idea for me.
When you hear the word transition, it pretty much means transition program from 18 to 21. But to me, transition means moving from high school to college, like two different environments.
It's like somewhere in your life where you have to transition from a child to adult. It's a phase in your life where you have to go.
Transition is help my daughter to get prepared for life after high school. It's a very simple answers, but there are a lot of things we need to do in the transition period.
For youth with disabilities, transition is a time for you to discover and develop your personal strengths and skills, to build relationships with people and your community, and coordinate support and services you will need for the life you want as an adult. Many services are free when you're a child, but when you become an adult, you need to be eligible for services. Transition is also a time to get connected to eligibility-based services you need as an adult. During the transition, think about what you want to do in your daily life after high school is over. For youth, do you want to stay home all day or go out into the community to work, meet people, and have fun? For parents and caregivers, if your youth will continue to live with you, who will be helping them during the day?
I never had to work 6 years. I was home, and that makes me upset because 6 years is a long time now. So I never had a job 6 years, but now I have a job.
Every day, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days kaba inaan baxo weeyaan igu qasbi jirtay si aan uga mashquuliyo guriga inay in badan. Alxamdulillah hadda wuxuu helay shaqo.
But now he's doing better. He sounds good.
Shan cashuu shaqaynayay imanka.
He works 5 nights.
Asagana happy buu yahay.
And he seems very happy.
Anigana happy baan noqday, culayska badnaa ba iga dhacay.
Because I feel like there's weight that has been lifted.
Making own decisions.
After you finish high school, it's important that you have a goal because you could achieve that goal and then you could do well in that goal and then take the next step forward actually in your goal. I want to study like being a nurse assistant. Yeah, I'm working toward that goal, and then I'm trying to apply for a scholarship, all that stuff.
Get a job, and get an apartment, and really in the future, like when I'm 30 or 31, I want to get married. Yeah.
Making big decisions about the future life is difficult for everyone. Like Rama and Jean, you will need to know what you want for your life, decide on a goal, and determine the steps you need to take to accomplish your goal. Transition planning starts with self-discovery, which means knowing how to talk about your strengths and interests, what you like to do, your hopes and dreams about what you want to be when you become an adult, and the types of support you will need during the transition process and life as an adult. Through the process of self-discovery, we can come up with a plan that is focused on you and your family. One of the processes to gather information about you and share the information with those who will support you during transition in an adult life is called person-centered planning. Person-centered planning is a planning process driven by a focus on the whole youth with support from people who know him or her well. Person-centered planning offers a way to discover who the person is, what they want in life, and how to support them. Let's hear about Mikkel's person-centered plan from his mom's perspective and how it helped them achieve Mikkel's goal.
Whenever he's transitioning out from like elementary school to middle school, we started to do person-centered planning. And for that person-centered planning, it helped us to present to Mikkel who he is. Mikkel is a very happy boy. He loves to observe people, and he communicates mostly through his body language. That's what he prefers. Michael loves people. Whenever people come over to visit us, he's always smiling, happy. And so we know if he is working, he can be surrounded by people who care about him, and his life will be different. And for him, because of his autism, he has a lot of support needs, particularly in the areas of communication. He needs guidance, he needs support to take care of his daily livings, like eating, dressing, healthcare, all those kind of things. Pretty much needs 24-hour supervision. So in our transition planning early on, we already thought about, okay, what is he going to do if he's going to work? So what kind of independent living skills, or what kind of things that he need to be able to do? And I know one thing is that he got to have a behavior that people will accept him. So that means he has to be a happy person, he has to be able to follow instruction, and he has to be able to understand the basic instruction. In school, he goes different job site to learn how to work, and at the nutrition services is one of them. He would measure food, like how many ounces of meat put in the cups, and then wrap them up. He does pretty good jobs right now. That's what I heard from job coaches. Yeah, they say, they like him.
Mikkel graduated from high school 2 years ago. Now he is working at 2 part-time jobs, surrounded by his coworkers and people who care about him, and enjoying his life by participating in the community. To learn more about person-centered planning, here are some resources to get support.
Okay, so that is just a plan. And the reason I put that in there is because it's never too early to start planning, to start thinking about and that's what we really drill into them, being able to say what you like, what you don't like, how do you communicate, what do you want to do, and then how are you going to get there? And we're one of those places is we can help assist with that. The Greene County Board can. Well, the county boards can help with that, but that's how our transition services work within our system in Greene County. And then in addition to that, I'm going to let Josh close with the last point.
The work. We love to talk about the work. That's what we talk about. When we come to the classroom, kids know that that's what we're there. I always say we're there to harp on them about the importance of work. But it really is important because when you think about so many of your connections to the community and your involvement in the community, a lot of it's tied up in your work, the people you meet at work, the money you make at work, how you spend it in the community. And then we're kind of mystified as a culture when folks with developmental disabilities aren't connected to the community, but we have a very low rate of employment among this group. So no wonder they're not connected to the community. So that's why we think it's so important. And I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. I see Cindy's here from McDonald's. We had a young lady that was offered a job with McDonald's last summer, and she denied it. She said she couldn't take the job. And I was asking her the other day in the classroom about why didn't you take the job with McDonald's? And she said that her and her grandmother just didn't feel that, she could handle the stress of going to school and working at the same time. And it really got me thinking about, I feel stress every day. Most of us feel stress every day. Trying new things is a stressful experience for most of us. And so I asked the girl, and it kind of upset her, but I asked her, why was she so different from everybody else that she was exempt from feeling stress? And whenever we try new things, it's stressful. And we find with a lot of the families we work with, and I have 3 kids of my own, so I certainly feel these things. And when we're doing I have a daughter getting ready to go to college, so I know change is stressful, but we have a lot of families that we have a difficult time moving them into this realm of work and getting ready for work. And in Greene County, when you leave high school, we have almost no opportunities for training after high school. So if you leave school and you're not work ready in Greene County, there's almost no way for you to become work ready as an adult. And it's really stressing us out. So that's one of the things we really push for is we want everybody to be aiming for work. Now, not everybody can work. And I love what Kathy said, that, transition is for everybody and it happens no matter where you are along the ability spectrum. So it's not like we're discriminating and saying you have to work, and if you don't work, you're going to have a terrible life. But if you can work, it definitely leads to more positive outcomes. So we're very passionate about the importance of work, preparing for work. And the last thing I'm going to say about work, I'm just going to keep saying the word work over and over again. Really, two factors make or break work. I've noticed this over the years. Parents' expectations and attitude towards their child working is probably the most important thing. If we have families that are determined to see their child work, we can make that happen. Like, there's a lot we can do with that kind of mindset. And when we have parents that are resisting it, there's almost no way we can help or support that. So we're really adamant about helping families, to figure out, like, what are the barriers to work? What's standing in the way? What are their fears? Are there concerns? How can we help you address those and figure those things out? And then the other thing is student work experience is like so vital. Like, if we can have students that want to work all day long, but if they don't have the work skills and the opportunities to go out and work, it's very difficult for them to transition into work. So we're really into partnering with schools and other community groups and businesses to figure out how can we get these students out there working, because it's really important to get that hands-on work. So that's it. Done.
All right. Yeah, took me a minute to click on. Thank you, Josh and Kathy. I guess next we'll hear from Montgomery. So we have Andrea Harker, and let's see, we have Stacy Mullens. I'm looking for the name here, and Michelle Garrett, right?
That's right. That's who we have tonight, Patty. We have Ellen, Stacy. Great job, Josh and Kathy.
Yeah,
that's
very
all about
good.
Greene County. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we will go from there. Okay. Okay, is everybody this now? I think I'm on the wrong slide. My apologies. Michelle, do you want to get us started?
Sure. Just want to welcome everyone this evening. I'm Michelle Garrett. I'm the Employment Navigator Supervisor for Montgomery County Board of DD. And we have Andrea Harker, who is our School to Work Employment Specialist, and Stacy Mullens, who is our Transition Specialist. And Stacy, I'm sure that's not your real title. I mean, you probably have a different title. I can't read the slide. So we are going to talk a little bit of how we do transition in Montgomery County. So Andrea, I'll let you start.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so first of all, we want to talk a little bit about staying connected through the school years. I know Josh and Kathy touched upon this a little bit, county, in the wonderful video. Once eligible, all school-age children remain active until a plan for services after school has been established. We have SSAs for school-age children, which is based on a school district until age 18. And then at that point, the student will transition to the transition SSA, which is Stacy. MCB DDS notifies the family that it is time to redetermine eligibility, typically at age 16. So you're probably going to get something in the mail around when your son or daughter is 15 to look at going through the redetermination at age 16. After that has happened, whenever they are deciding to go ahead and take their diploma, families can be assisted with obtaining supports or day supports rather, or employment, referred for an ongoing SSA waiver day services, or transferred to a CSSA, which is a community SSA for intermittent services. And we're going to be covering that more along the slide presentation. Also too, we do have sometimes families will reach out to us and just say, hey, we don't want your services anymore, but we hope that doesn't happen, but we still like to try to keep that open line of dialogue open with families. So right now, the role of the ESSA eligibility, responsible for determining eligibility ages 6 years old and up, they're going to provide service coordination and begin the transition process while the student is in school. They do maintain a community caseload, and those areas are based on regions. They attend school transition meetings to determine a projected graduation date, and they begin educating the family on choices for services after graduation. Also, the ESSA can refer families to necessary services while in school, to include board resources such as vocational and recreation and community resources such as Social Security, Medicaid, and guardianship. They're also responsible for assisting families with completing necessary paperwork to begin looking at adult day services. They're also in school presentations for board services, and they also contact the family at age 17 for transition development for things out in the community. And I believe tonight that we have an ESSA in on tonight's presentation. Her name is Kirsten Sargent. Kirsten, is there anything you would like to add to some of the things that I just talked about in this presentation?
Hey, I would just add, you know, the SSA eligibility is a resource for all those kids that we serve 6 to 18 until they transition over to Stacy. So if, you know, your parents ever have any questions about anything, you can always call us. We might not have the answer, but we can definitely help you find it, and just, you know, just feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you, Kirsten. I appreciate you chiming in. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So pretty much typically before I hand this over to Stacy for a little bit, we are looking at, you know, at age 14, if your son or daughter is interested in working in the community, we can sit down and talk with you and the family about that. I do a lot of work with Kirsten and the other ESSA when they have attended IEP meetings and trying to find out what's next for the student, whether it be work or something to that effect. So and then at that point, when they are turning 18, they are going to be transitioned along to Stacy Mullens. And Stacy, I'm going to turn this over to you for the tools for transition and of the transition SSA.
Hello. Like they said, I'm Stacy Mullens. I'm the transition SSA with the board. So once your student hits the age of 18, they will transfer to me from their regional SSA. So I have every 18 to 22-year-old who does not have a waiver in the whole county. So I try to make IEPs. If you can invite me to IEPs, that's great. It helps me get to know your student so that we know what path you're wanting to take once you exit school. We can talk about employment options. We can talk about day service options. We can talk about a combination of both options. If you're wanting to tour places, if you're wanting to talk with OOD staff, I can help facilitate all of that. I work very closely with Andrea with some of the employment side of things. I can answer questions about how we fund day services. We typically, if you are attending a program 3 days a week or more, you will get a level 1 waiver. But even if you don't have a waiver and you're wanting to work and you need a ride to work, we do have some funding options available to help you get to and from work as well. So we don't want transportation to be one of the barriers to having that employment. I can do referrals if you have guardianship questions, benefits questions, behavior support, recreation. Unfortunately, our recreation is still all on Zoom right now, but just a lot of information and referral if you have questions. We do ask if you and your student decide they're exiting school before the age of 22 to let us know as soon as possible so that we can start planning what that next step is, because from our end of things, we're not expecting people to exit until they're aging out at 22. So if there's anything that's making you decide to come out of school early, just please give us a heads up so that we can start working with you on that. As for resources, on this link here on this slide, it shows some of the options we have. This is all available on our website at mcbdds.org. There is a provider video link that's no longer active. They decided that those were getting a little outdated. So those are not on there anymore, but everything else is still current. This is just a screenshot of one of the providers that is available in the county, just to give you an idea of what the website looks like when you're looking for providers. And then there is a second page that has a description given to us by the provider. So all of those descriptions are done by the provider, not by the county board. So they have given us that information. We also have a map system on the website, so that if you're unfamiliar with, we have people who come new to the county, you're not sure where these providers are. We have a map on there. We have a provider evaluation tool where the providers have checked boxes to say, we have this available, we have this available, we can provide transportation, we have vocational programs, we provide lunch. So that's what all those little check boxes are on that site. And again, these are all available on the county board website. I'm like, Michelle, I need my glasses on to see our I can try and go on tours with you if you're touring day programs. We do meet and greets with employment providers. We do events like this. We go to schools and do presentations. We just try to collaborate as much as we can. And like I said, Andrea and I work very closely together with the folks who are looking at employment. She does a lot of camps. I think she's going to speak on that here next, possibly.
Actually, Michelle, do you think you want to talk a little bit about this next piece here?
Sure, I will. Hello again, I'm Michelle. And I just want to talk a little bit about the role of the Employment Navigator Service and Support Administrator. And Andrea, do you care if I talk a little bit about your position also, since it kind of ties in together?
Sure, just let me know when you want to chime in.
Sure, okay. So at the board, we have 4 employment navigators, and we have Andrea, who's our school to work employment specialist. The employment navigators act as a consultant to individuals who are wanting to move along their path to employment. So they want to find a competitive job, and they are referred to the ENSSAs by their service and support administrator. So Kristen Sargent may make a referral. She's going to make a referral for Andrea. But sooner or later, Andrea will transition out and they will get an ENSSA. So that's kind of how it evolves, that they start working with Andrea and then they transition to an ENSSA. And we follow the person through the whole Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities process. So we'll make the referral. We will go to all the meetings with the person, or Andrea will go to all the meetings with the person, and just make sure that we are following along until we get a job coaching, and then retention services. So Andrea, I think you have the next slide if you'd like to talk about that.
I'm just going to kind of piggyback what you were talking about. As Michelle was saying, I'm going to eventually be transitioning a lot of my students to the employment navigator role. I'm starting to see a lot of roles come in for students that are over the age of 14. I can help with that OOD referral, talk with them about a lot of different things in the community to help them getting ready for community, volunteering, or just getting things ready by attending IEPs at the school to see if there is anything going on that they can be doing in the school to prepare for future employment. At that point, again, to piggyback what Michelle said, when they officially exit school, I'm working closely with Stacy. At that point, I am reaching out to the employment navigator saying, hey, it looks like you're going to be working with so-and-so. This is what we've done. They're already connected, or hey, they already have a job. This is what you need to know, and this is what they may need help with. So it's really been a nice cohesive transition when we've had that happen from my role to the employment navigator.
And one other thing, when your student is working with OOD, we do offer the pre-employment transition services at the board. So if your child is interested in that, Andrea can provide those services.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about the Employment Navigator's responsibilities.
Okay, so the responsibility one is to help the person get through the OOD process. Another thing that the Employment Navigator can do is they can provide waiver services. So we could do some career discovery to find out interests, likes, dislikes, what type of job they may like to have. We can also do career exploration. The ENs are always involved with the employment providers. So in Montgomery County, at this point in time, we have 5 employment providers, and they would be Boundless, Capabilities, URS, Goodwill, and ViaQuest. So we work closely with all of them. We have a great relationship, and just help the person get through job development, through job coaching, and then pick an ongoing support provider just to check in once the person's been working for over 90 days, check in monthly to make sure everything's going okay. I also want to touch on, and I think it's in a later slide, but while I'm thinking about it, we have a work incentive person who does work incentives, and that's Tammy Disney. And if you have questions about your child going to work, we can refer you to talk with Tammy, and she'll do a benefits analysis so you can see how working and their benefits will be affected. And by no means do we want anybody to lose their benefits, but we do want to emphasize how important work is for everyone in the community. So we truly want to work with you to make sure that you understand working and benefits. Okay, Andrea, I think.
So Michelle, I'm just going to jump
Yes.
in here real quick. The benefits summary and analysis should be, confirmation of the benefits received, confirmation of the individual's earning goal, and just different things like that. So if that's
Yes.
something you're not sure about, to our families listening in, please reach out and let us know how we can get you connected. Is there anything else you want to touch upon, Michelle? Because it looks like our next portion is going to be community outreach.
That sounds good.
Okay. Some of our events or programs in regards to community outreach is going to be right now what everybody's listening into, the local leaders collaboration, the SALT series, provider fairs at local schools, meet and greets, advocacy, voices matter, provider meet and greets, and summer youth boot camp. Yes, I know Josh and Kathy, you are thinking about our years doing summer camp. Local leaders collaboration. We are going into our 10th year of having the local leaders collaboration, which is how the SALT series evolved. We have a lot of wonderful sessions for parents and guardians out there to learn about different things. And this is always a great way to join in and find out about what you can do to be your son or your daughter out there. Independent living skills seminars. In an effort for our students to continue learning life skill, independent living skills seminars are offered during the same time as the SALT series. But this has kind of changed since we've had COVID. We have the SALT Teens session, which occurs once a month, except for the summertime or December. And that's a way for students to come together via Zoom to learn about cooking. We've had some cooking things, independent or good decision-making skills. I think last fall, Josh and Kathy talked about budgeting, but we try to offer these different things in the SALT Teen series, as well as Montgomery County DD. We do provide some employability classes at the local high schools, and just to kind of help piggyback on some things that the schools are already doing. So these have been very popular. And I think this is going to be it here. Presenters' contact information, my name and email address is up there, as well as Stacy's and Michelle's contact information. I'm going to stop sharing just for a brief moment before we present this over to Warren County. It looks like that Montgomery County is going to be offering the career exploration camp sometime this summer. Just kind of got the final go-ahead earlier this week. I'm going to be working on putting together information about that. It's going to be career exploration students ages 14 to 18, where you can gain work skills in the community, listen to guest speakers, and just kind of do a lot of things, just kind of getting some ideas about work in general. So I will be keeping everybody posted about that. Michelle or Stacy, is there anything you would like to add before I turn this back over to Patty?
I do not have anything to add. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Patty, I just want to ask real quick, the presentation, some things I was probably talking a little too fast or skipping over some things. This presentation will be available for parents to review.
Yeah, we have it uploaded into the Google Drive, which we had put the link out there. We'll put them again at the end. If you don't catch it, you guys can anybody can just email me and I'll send it. We have, links on if you get the newsletter and everything we put all the presentation information in there that we get.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Stacy and Michelle, and thanks again, Kirsten, for chiming in for a little bit. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrea and Michelle and Stacy. We're going to turn it over now to the Warren County. We have Brittany and we have Matt. And I think, Matt, I have you as co-host. You can share your screen if you want. Just as we were going through this and as as they're getting ready to set up, just keep thinking as a parent, that transition from school to adulthood is a big step. And I'll say a little bit more later, but, how are you going to prepare for it? And all these guys are here, all these different organizations are here to help. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Brittany and Matt.
Very good. Thank you, Patty. So my name, everyone, is Matt Smoot. I am a Service and Support Administration Manager for the Morgan County Board of DD, and just been asked to speak tonight to help give an overview of our SSA division. So our SSA offices are located at the Young Center in Lebanon since April 2011. We currently have 39 employees in our SSA division. 28 of those are service coordinators with ongoing active caseloads of approximately 28 to 30 individuals each. We have one SSA who is considered an information and referral coordinator, who mainly takes calls and provides resources by way of the phone or email. We have a residential options coordinator who assists teams with housing options, roommate compatibility, and things like that. We have one waiver coordinator who now works closely with the fiscal specialists and our business services manager, just to help teams with budgets and staffing and ratios. We have two team secretaries in our division who assist with the filing and the processing of individual service plans, revisions, etc. And then we have one division secretary who helps just keep everything organized for us. And then we have 4 SSA managers. I'm one of those. We each have approximately 7 to 8 SSAs on our teams, and I also supervise one of the team secretaries. And then we have one director, Tony Heidi, who oversees our division. So just an overview of service coordination functions. This is considered a mandated function of county boards of DD. It's defined in the Ohio revised code 5126.01, also 5123-402. It's considered a primary point of coordination role or task duty, where county board staff and SSA is responsible for all the development, implementation, and coordination of all necessary services and supports for an individual that are outlined in their ISP or individual service plan. Primarily, we serve all eligible individuals age 3 or older. We are responsible for assisting individuals with accessing all their needed services, including assessments, any care planning, referral and linkage, as well as any follow-up or monitoring requirements. The SSA is a member of all the individual teams to help plan and communicate in response to any of the opportunities or challenges that might be faced by the individual. They are the person that coordinates all the main development of the ISP, including any ongoing revisions or modifications that might need to occur. Some additional overview services and functions. An SSA helps to establish the budget for the individual service and their service span throughout the course of the year. Helps to assess any needs or any updates they might have for new or additional services. An SSA can also help to identify a person for each individual who can be involved and assist with any advocacy on behalf of the individual and their desired outcomes. An SSA also assists an individual with choosing providers of their choice, which would be the individual's choice. This is something we kind of stress to SSAs to make sure they do advocate on behalf of the individual, but we never ask that an SSA try to sway or stray someone either to a specific provider or from a specific provider, just to make sure we're as neutral and unbiased as possible so we don't have any kind of conflict of interest with regard to that. We do monitor the implementation and individual satisfaction of all services, and we maintain regular contact and communication with the individual served. SSAs are also responsible for any crisis and emergency intervention services. We do have an on-call mechanism and an emergency response system available at all times, 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. It's actually kind of a rotation system where each SSA that we have does take a week turn in rotation. And then actually the managers, we all rotate as well. So the SSA might be on call, for a whole week. And then I might be the first manager on call that if they need to contact me, we would have a backup manager on call if I was unavailable. And then our SSA director might be kind of the last line of defense if necessary. We also maintain any necessary records, keep individual files up to date, complete all forms and paperwork, such as case notes, billing, information, etc. And then a key thing to remember is that service coordination is not considered direct care services, as that is also viewed as kind of a conflict of interest. We can't coordinate the services and also provide the direct services. So that's where we just work with the individuals to see who they would like to choose as their indicated providers. In terms of information and referral services, this is for individuals who indicate that they don't have any real immediate needs for either early intervention, family supports, transitions, or service coordination. The INR SSA must make contact, either written correspondence or telephone, with the individual family guardian at least once every 12 months. In addition to that, the employee could be available for any necessary telephone calls, questions, etc. throughout the year as the needs would arise, or if the individual or family guardian would determine needs elsewhere. We currently have approximately 309 individuals receiving that INR information and referral service component at this time. Next, as it pertains to the home and community-based waiver waiting list assessment, the INR person is responsible for helping to oversee the waiver waiting list rule. Just requires that individuals have a statewide assessment completed to determine if they have any immediate, current, or unmet needs, which may or may not require additional county board supports. We currently have over 800 waiting list assessments that have been successfully completed since September 1st of 2018. And Krista Delaria is that service coordinator / INR contact who completes all waiting list assessments at this time. In terms of agency crisis intervention, SSA division personnel is available 24 hours per day, 365 days a year. Typical hours for us is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. But then, like I said, after 4 p.m., we have that on-call rotation. So anybody indeed would always have somebody available to take the call. And it also we fill the mandate for having agency personnel that can receive any unusual or major unusual incidents reports from either individuals, families, guardians, or providers 24 hours per day. Other duties that the SSA division carries out, we have personnel serve on various interagency and county committees. Individuals chair and host regional meetings consisting of the counties of Butler, Claremont, Clinton, Greene, Hamilton, Montgomery, Preble, and Warren counties, just to help discuss all things that could be related to service coordination roles and responsibilities throughout our region and the state as a whole. And we also conduct trainings just for various organizations all throughout the county. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of an overview of our division in Warren County. And could just leave it open now for questions if anybody had anything that they might want to put in the chat box, or if anybody wanted to send something to Patty at a later time, she can let us know. We'll be sure to get back to you.
Brittany, did you have anything additionally you wanted to add?
So anything that I say will be a little repeat of the things that they do in Greene County and Montgomery County. The way we do it in Warren County is just a little bit different. Matt already mentioned a lot of things about the SSA department. One of the things that I can say that is probably different in Warren County is that there are students who have a transition coordinator and a service coordinator. So if they're on a waiver and they have funding through that waiver, their SSA might participate in all of the things that are funding related and the school dynamics, but typically the transition coordinator, if they have one assigned, would help them with facilitating maybe a work adjustment program or getting connected with OOD for a summer youth work experience. We also have job classes in our county that the transition coordinator will help the students and the families connect with. So just the intricacies that, you know, Josh has mentioned and that Andrea's mentioned also take place in Warren County. Sometimes they just look a little bit different depending on where you're receiving services.
Yeah, that's a good point from Brittany, that it's, you know, it's all person-centered. It can all just be dependent upon what the needs are, what the situation is. It's not ever either or one or the other. Like she said, it might be a combo or kind of a collaboration. There could be some overlap or just kind of working in braided fashion together based upon where they might be with their age or their transition out of school. So yeah, it could be all unique and customized based upon what they need.
Absolutely. And I think, Patty, I thought I shared with you the supports and services for children's booklet.
Yeah, I didn't get, unless it came late.
Okay, I'll send it again. And if you will just connect it to the presentation. Anyone that's interested in eligibility and intake, their information is in there. Information about transition services, family supports, like everything is detailed in that booklet as well. And you guys will have access to it.
So throughout tonight's presentations, one word that came up was waivers. We are having a presentation directly on waivers on March 22nd. We'll be covering what is a waiver. That's one of those words that me as a parent was like, what? So, you know, we'll be talking about waivers later in the month, so you can identify the different waivers and what that all means. One thing that Matt touched on was, now he spelled it out as the major unusual incidents, like MUI is quite often what it's referred to. Many county boards have supports in those areas, but can you kind of like exactly what would be an MUI? Like when would a parent say, I have this situation?
Sure. And you're right, it can be a confusing concept because you kind of have the MUI, major unusual incidents, versus a UI, unusual incidents. And it can be sometimes deceiving because there might be an individual or a team or a family where maybe some challenges, maybe there's some trends and patterns that tend to happen so often that they are no longer viewed as unusual, but the team still has to kind of be strategic to work around what's the best way to kind of intervene or support and respond. Essentially, the nice thing is to take out, you know, the fear or the guesswork for any families or individuals or teams, is that we just view anyone as the discoverer of a potential incident to just be a mandated reporter. And all they would need to do is just, you know, we kind of have those MUI hotlines or our emergency on call, or even like available websites or emails that they can reach out to. to just say, hey, I've learned of a situation, or I fear there could be possible misappropriation of money of an individual's, benefit checks, or I fear maybe there's been some alleged abuse that has occurred. And then essentially they can just report the information to the best of their ability. And then we will work to make sure that that information gets in the hands of our IAs or investigative agents. And then they will assist to kind of do some due diligence and fact finding and to respond quickly, just to see what needs to be done, primarily just to make sure that we ensure first and foremost health and safety. And then after that, just to find out, what needs to occur in terms of reporting, prevention planning, follow-up, etc.
Thank you, Matt. That was one of those terms that it was like, well, so when would you use it? That kind of thing. And so thank you for explaining that a little bit more, because there's so many services out there that we are as a parent, we're unaware of, that we can tap into, through the county boards. And then the county board is there for all of you. The county board is not just something you use when you're in school. It goes on with you. You determine eligibility, or you redetermine, when they're an adult, but it can stay with you for a lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah, an individual might have a caseload of 28 people, and they might have some folks that are age 5, and they might have others that are age 95. So it's kind of lifelong and kind of covers all spans and all different kind of generational phases of life. And like you say, depending upon where they might be within their stages and where they're at, we would definitely be looking at a lot of different service options to meet them at the best possible point of where they're at.
And I wanted to be sure the parents picked up on also throughout the different presentations. You mentioned, different ones mentioned, there's representatives within the county boards, benefit analysis certified. Tammy Disney was mentioned, but I know, and she was with Montgomery County, and I know there's Latasha Olinger. Yes. And Kathy, you're gonna have to refresh me because someone took over Jackie's spot.
Cindy Nava.
They'll help with, like, if you're going through, when you're going from 18 at the age of 18, you have the application for the SSI, SSDI, there's Medicaid, there's all kinds of questions in there. They are within the county boards also that can help. And Butler County, if there's anyone on here for Butler, they also have a benefit analysis person as well, but they help you through with some of those applications. It's just helping you function through some of these questionable areas as you're making that transition. So I just want to make sure, everybody, caught that in the presentations, that is, because that's a big step. When our son when he was going from that adulthood, getting ready to graduate, I didn't realize any of this stuff. And this is where SALT has been a big help. And we wanted to continue it, just to provide this help for parents making this transition. Until you're going through it, you don't realize the size, the magnitude of the stuff you have to learn making that transition from school to adulthood. And even the simplest things. We had the IEP in school, and I get a call after he graduates or he's, out of school, to have a meeting. And I'm like, well, we don't have IEPs. And he said, no, it's an ISP. I said, what's an ISP? So it's like these little things that, not a big issue. It's kind of they're kind of similar, just the plan changes, but just the things you don't know about. So I'm hoping, like, bringing in these presentations helps give you an idea of a little more, more than what I knew when I was hitting this stage, that what was out there. Let's see here. What else did I want to, I talked about the waivers is later on. So is there anything else that anybody else wants to add? And I'll close the recording so we can open up for discussion or questions. So everybody will keep an eye on, they talked about like recreation, they talked about career camps, and I know OOD, which is Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, they also have camps coming up. You'll want to connect with your county boards regarding any, pre-sign up. You can reach out to me or any of the ones that are on here if there's something that's pertaining that that you're interested in and tapping into. And also, I wanted to mention, Kathy mentioned a self-determination. In the live binder under advocacy, we have several things I've collected on self-determination as well. So you can refer to that. And, we'll be sharing all those links for you for all that information. So I'm going to open it up for questions. We're about at 7:15. So 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and close out the recording, but I want to thank all you guys for all the great information you shared. And Matt, you'll be sending me that presentation to upload to our the Google. We have a
Sure.
Google Drive and live binder. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
All right, 1 second while I close out the